Okay. So the title of this presentation, The Stress Diet, Rebooting Your Metabolism so that you can lose weight, heal your thyroid, and repair your adrenal glands. Now, the reason that we did and I built a program through Metabolic Effect called The Stress Diet, which teaches all this stuff, which I am going to talk to you about at the end of this webinar, is because I have had a very personal relationship with how stress impacts the physiology. And I, at first, denied that this was having any impact on me. It took a lot of struggling and a lot of working with other people and then finally getting smacked in the back of the head a few times before I finally figured this out for myself. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about that story as we go through this. So let's get started here. The first thing that I want you to understand is a little truth about weight loss that you might not be aware of. Here is what you believe, okay? And what I say, what you believe, it's maybe you're a little bit more savvy, but it's really what I believed for a very long time, and it's what most of the world of health and fitness still believes. In fact, it is their mantra, and that is that if you decrease your calories or your carbohydrates, which is all the rage right now, right? If you do that, if you lower calories and decrease carbs, or if you exercise longer or harder or more often, those two things are going to cause weight loss. That's what the whole world believes. Now, the interesting thing about that is that it does not actually work that way. It works more like this. In order to lose weight, you have to balance output, the amount of energy you are putting out, whether that be exercise or just movement or just daily living, with fuel. In other words, you have to fuel your body so that it performs. And when you do that, when you fuel your body in the right way so that it performs, you will decrease metabolic stress. And when you do that, you're going to lose weight for good. So there's two very different ways of going about this. The one way, what you currently believe, which is, hey, I just decrease calories or carbs or fat, wherever you're coming from, whatever your nutritional bias or the nutritional diet flavor of the month is, you just do that and you exercise like crazy. Either you go run longer or you lift harder or you do that more often and you lose weight. The fact of the matter is, though, that does not cause a decrease in metabolic stress. In fact, what I'm going to show you tonight is it can actually increase metabolic stress for many, many people. And if you are on this webinar tonight, I'm betting you are one of those people. So what does stress look like? This is what most people think stress looks like, right? They think that stress is this emotional thing. They think it's this feeling of anxiety or this feeling of depression or this feeling of overwhelm. They think it's all about emotions. In other words, they think if they're not feeling emotions, then they can't be stressed. And this is certainly a form of stress. No doubt about it. What you see in this picture is a form of stress. However, there are other forms of stress, and I want to talk about those. For example, what you're looking at in this picture is a form of stress, and we don't often see it as such. In other words, exercise is an interesting thing, isn't it? Because we all think of it and have heard about it as a stress reducer. And it is up to a point. In other words, if you get exercise correct, if you do the right intensity, if you do the right duration, if you do it often enough but not too much, it actually decreases stress and in fact helps you adapt and get stronger. However, what we oftentimes do not think about is the fact that exercise can become a significant metabolic stress to the body when it is overdone. And guess what? It is often overdone. It is often overdone. And we don't talk about that much. So not only can stress be this emotional turmoil, this overwhelm, deadlines looming, lots of things going on, this big long to-do list, it can also be overactivity, overstressing the body in the gym. Here's another form of stress: nutritional deprivation, right? Psychologically counting everything that goes in your body, worrying about every morsel that goes in your body, stressing about calories and macros and GMOs. And is this organic or is this not organic? And if I eat this, is this going to make my head explode? And if I eat this, is this going to make me fat? And if I eat this, is this going to give me heart disease? And does this have toxins in it? This is another form of stress, isn't it? And just by its very nature, if you're not eating enough to help your body do what it needs to do in its everyday processes, that's a stress to your body. So here's the interesting thing. Just like too much on your to-do list can be a stress, too much exercise that is too intensely, exercise that is done for too long can be a stress. Just like extra to-do list can be stressful for you emotionally, not eating enough or eating too much can be a stress, right? So what I'm getting at is there's this bell-shaped curve of exercise and nutrition that many people are tipping over, and they don't understand why it's not working for them, right? They don't understand this. So the first thing we need to do is understand what stress is. Let me drive this home for you. What you're looking at in this picture is a form of extreme metabolic stress. Now, this is a new mother. She's just had a beautiful baby boy, right? She's elated. And perhaps she's the happiest she's ever been in her life. Yet, she just went 9 months with this baby taking all of her nutritional resources, or much of them. She is now sleep deprived. She is now thrown into a life that all mothers, my mother has told me this, and mothers that I've worked with have told me this over and over again, that there is nothing that can prepare you for the life switch that occurs when you have a kid. One life ends and another life begins, and there's a huge adjustment period. We don't understand that this woman that you're looking at right here is under extreme duress, is under extreme metabolic stress, despite being incredibly happy. Does that make sense to you as you see this? That we need to start thinking about stress differently, because whether or not you feel emotionally stressed does not mean you are stress-free. Does not mean you are stress-free. That is important. That is the first concept that you really need to understand. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to tell you about a client of mine. I'm going to call her Amber. That's not her real name, but I'm not going to give you her real name. And this client was one of the first clients that I had that tipped me off into stress being a major cause. Not just a contributor, but a major cause of gaining weight and not being able to lose it. Now, let's not get it twisted. Let's not make it more than it is. It doesn't mean it's the major cause for everybody, but it is a major cause for many, many, many people. So we're not going to sit here and make the same mistake and say, oh my God, I just listened to this webinar with Dr. Jade and he said that stress is the cause of everything and nothing else matters. Not true. For some people, it's not stress. It might be food. It might be something else. But for many people, it is. So let me tell you about my patient, Amber. She came to me. She had 3 kids, young children, relatively close together in age. And she also had a career that she started when her youngest went back to school. She was one of these super women mothers who did everything. She ran the household. She worked in a career. She took care of the kids. And she ate and exercised and did everything right. Now, let me tell you why she was so impactful for me. Because unlike me, which I'm going to tell you my story in a minute, unlike me, she was disciplined beyond belief. If I told her to do something, she just did it. It did not matter. Keto diets, paleo diets, vegan diets we even went on. I even put her on a vegetarian diet as I was trying to figure out her case, and nothing worked for her. She would get results for a time, maybe a few pounds here and there, and then she would blow right back up again. And I, in the beginning, was thinking she must be cheating, but we would do diet diaries and everything else. She was strict with everything, just basically a machine. Something happened along the way for her. And what happened was she began to do a few things that shocked me. And I want you to see if you can guess maybe what those things were, perhaps. These are all the approaches that she tried, okay? These are the approaches that she tried. And I want you to think, which approach, right? She tried the low-carb, keto, HCG medications. She was on thyroid medication, by the way, when she came to see me. We tried adjusting all of those things. She had done HCG, not with me. I put her on low-carb diets and keto diets. She also did paleo, and she actually was not a CrossFitter, but she did CrossFit style workouts, metabolic conditioning. She went on a few vacations. She did low-fat vegan and lots of cardio. What do you think worked for her? Which of these approaches? You probably get the point, right? Many of you have already heard this story if you've been following Metabolic Effect for a while. But what worked for her is that here's a woman who, due to circumstances, monetary circumstances and things like that, she did not go on vacations. It's not something she would allow herself to do or she would do very often. But after some time working with her, months, I think it was about 1.5 years, fighting back and forth, trying to see what would work, she went on vacation. And she came back and she got on our body fat scale and had her measurements done. And she had lost weight, okay? She had lost weight. So I, of course, am like, oh my God, what did you do? And I'll never forget the look on her face. It was a look of confusion, anger, sadness, pretty much all at the same time. And she basically almost yelled at me and was like, this isn't possible. This cannot work. And she was so frustrated. She wasn't happy because she was so confused. We sat down in my office and I asked her, I said, what's going on? Tell me what happened. She goes, well, on vacation, I did nothing. I ate what I wanted to eat. Basically my whole regime was shot. I did not work out at all. And you're telling me I lost weight. And this confused us. It confused me and it confused her. But I went and asked her everything that she was doing. What did you do? And her day looked something like this. She would sleep in. Now, she was not a good sleeper at home. And even on vacation, she told me that she actually wasn't sleeping. She would wake up at 4 o'clock like she normally did. But she would, maybe get out of bed for a little while and then just go back and lay in bed and kind of hang out, or go get in bed with the kids and sort of lay there because she didn't have to make breakfast and get ready and go off to work and get them ready for the school bus and all that kind of stuff. So she kind of lounged around in the morning and would sometimes drift back to sleep. During the day, she would hang out on the beach with her kids, basically out, suntanning and things like that. She did not go to her morning workout. She walked on the beach with her family multiple times. She went and did a lot of different activities. They went hiking, parasailing, all this kind of stuff that you do on vacation. The most shocking thing she said is that she would pretty much not really eat most of the day, just pick at stuff. But then at night, she would essentially, from her way of putting it, gorge herself. She had pasta and alcohol and beer, and she just enjoyed herself, and desserts, and just ate whatever she wanted to eat. And she lost weight, and not just a little bit of weight, but a significant amount of weight. And this literally kind of shook me, because once I saw this, I was just like, we've tried everything else. Let's try to duplicate this. Let's try to duplicate your vacation. What I want you to do is I want you to stop exercising so much, limit it to 2 times per week. I want you to try to duplicate your walking that you were doing. Find a way to walk as much as you can, because that's one thing that you were doing a ton of while you were on vacation. Obviously, we can't duplicate the sun tanning and things like that, but we tried to put in some other things like spending time in the sauna. She would actually go to the gym, and instead of working out at the gym, she would jump in the sauna at the gym, and did a lot of different things like that, hot baths and lots of relaxing stuff, and telling her to get a massage here and there when she could, which, you know, was more difficult for her to do. But here's what happened. What happened was, as reluctant as she was, she ended up losing over 30 pounds right around that mark in a 3-month period. Now, you have to understand, this is a woman that I worked with for a year and a half with nothing. And all of a sudden, boom, she starts losing weight and it just starts falling off her. This was a big, big, big clue for me. Now, let me tell you about another clue for me that didn't sink in until much later. Let me tell you a little bit about my story. My story was, I was a bartender in medical school. And medical school is pretty tough, right? So all week long, I worked in medical school. And unlike some of the kids there, I had to work full time. So Friday, after I got out of class or clinic, I went to the bar. And I would stay at the bar. I would basically get off at 4 o'clock. And then the crazy thing, I still can't believe I did this, but then I would sleep, get this, 2 hours. I'm not kidding. And after a few weeks of that, I actually asked my boss at the gym if I could sleep at the gym. It was a little private studio that was down the street from my club. So I didn't have to go home 30 minutes and then come back, just so I could sleep a little extra, which he allowed. But I would go Friday night, sleep 2 hours, and I'd work a 12-hour personal training shift, training someone every 30 minutes with a 30-minute lunchtime. Then I would go back to the bar Saturday night, and I would work till 4 again. And then Sunday, I would try to sleep in, maybe get a workout in. And then all week, I would go to med school, which is in itself a whole different type of stress. And then Friday would come around again, and I would do that grueling, ridiculous thing again with the bar and personal training. And around this time, I started getting fatigued. I started feeling pretty shitty. I started not being very motivated to work out anymore. And I also, through a series of events with my girlfriend, who is, still a dear, dear friend of mine, and we laugh about this sometime, but around this time, she also introduced me to a place called Jamba Juice, and also soy lattes and soy mocha lattes, actually. And because I was stressed, right, I basically was crushing these things. I thought, hey, I can use the protein in the Jamba Juice. And after about 3 months of this, my brother Keone looks at me and says, and we all like die laughing when we talk about this now. And actually, we don't call Jamba Juice, we call it Jumbo Juice, because he looked at me and said, hey, Jade, where you going? Jumbo Juice? And it dawned on me at that point in time that I went from 215 pounds to 250 pounds and was fatigued like crazy and just didn't know what was going on. So I went down to the lab at my clinic, had them draw blood labs, and I had a hypothyroid condition. I was extremely adrenally fatigued, and I had a severe vitamin D deficiency as well. Maybe being in Seattle had something to do with that. And I was fat and I was exhausted. So of course, what I did was I went ahead and said, all right, I'm going to get back in shape. I'm going to drop some of my personal training clients and drop one of my bartending shifts, take out a little bit more school loans, and ease up a little bit of my schedule. And I was able, by the time I graduated from school, I was able to get lean again. Now, let me tell you about the banana effect, because many of you may not know the banana effect, but I bet you do know the banana effect, because it's something that happened to me. Unlike Amber, who was incredibly disciplined, when I was going through this stressful time, what would happen to me is I would do things like the following. I would say, you know what? I can't have carbs. Carbs make me fat. And I would have bananas sitting there in the morning maybe, and I would say, well, I can't have a banana because it has too many carbs in it. Makes me, make me fat. I can't have the banana. And what would then happen is 3 days later, 4 days later, because I didn't have the banana or wouldn't let myself have healthy things like a banana, healthy carbohydrate, I would end up binging on pizza or pasta or cheesecake, and I would go on these huge binges. And I've come to call this the banana effect, because I've seen this over and over and over again with people where they don't do something that could be healthy. Have a baked potato with the skin on, or a sweet potato, or a banana, or something like that. And then instead end up binging like crazy. And this is a stress effect. Through a series of things that happened through my business, this same scenario happened again. So I lost that weight. I lost all that weight that I gained in medical school. And by the time I was out of medical school, I was again lean, starting a company, working out like crazy, working all the time, writing a book, just crazy busy again. And before I know it, guess what happened? And guess what? Jamba Juice or Jumbo Juice wasn't involved this time, but I blew up once again to 250 pounds. Happened just like that as soon as I started getting back into this crazy schedule. But for some reason, this time around, and by the way, by this time I had already run into Amber. I had already dealt with many Ambers and helped them deal with stress, and saw that stress was a big piece of the puzzle and was already doing a lot of this. But for some reason, I didn't think it applied to me. And I know for many of you on the line, you're probably thinking the same thing. Jade, I'm not stressed. This can't apply to me. It's not the same thing. I need to work out. I love to work out. I love my regime. I was so attached, almost like a religion. I was like, I am a healthy, fit person. What I do is I exercise. What I do is I do crazy metabolic conditionings. I took it as like a source of pride, a badge of honor. And so for some reason, I did not want to ease up. But it got so bad that I basically had to, because I just felt so bad. And finally, I relented, and I decided I am going to do something about it. And I started to change my regime around. I started to take days off of work. I started hiking in the North Carolina woods again, opting for a hike instead of a grueling metabolic conditioning workout. I bought myself, I realize not everyone can do this, but I went ahead and just did it. I got myself both an infrared sauna and a vitamin D lamp, and I did a few other things so I could build rest and recovery into my lifestyle. And the result of that is the following. These before and after pictures, where if those of you who have been on our email list have gotten these and seen these. Now, these are taking about a year apart. And over the course of that year, because I did not do anything drastic, unlike Amber, this weight did not come off me immediately. I did this very slowly. And the last few months, I went out to LA for a video shoot that I was doing for an infomercial. And that's why I'm tan in the one on the right here. But you can see a profound difference. And I'm going to tell you, this is what may shock you guys. The person on the left, right, was somebody who was working out more than the person on the right. That might be shocking to many of you. I was actually working out more often. I was also trying my best to deplete carbohydrates, but I was suffering from the banana effect on the left. And in the right, I was having pasta or potatoes or something like that pretty much every night, stuff that I loved. I am not kidding you when I tell you this. It's still crazy for me to even think about it. So this is where this basically comes from. Why do I share my story about Amber, and why do I share my story about myself? The reason I do that is because we humans are funny creatures. We need someone to show us something tangible. We don't care about the science and all of that kind of stuff unless we can see it with our own two eyes, unless we can do it. And sometimes, as was the case for me, even when we see it in others, it is not fully, as many times as I had done it for other people, it did not fully sink in until it happened with me. And that is just a funny consequence of being a human being, isn't it? It's kind of crazy, right? So here's the thing. Now I want to teach you a few things. I want to teach you a few things that I learned, some big insight things that I want you all to begin to look at very, very closely in your lives right now. And the first thing I want to teach you is something I want you to stop doing, okay? I want you to stop doing this. What do I want you to stop? I want you to stop being a dieter. What is a dieter? A dieter is somebody who is constantly thinking that both food and exercise are the fix for their problems. In other words, they just think all I got to do is eat real food, or stay away from GMOs, or don't eat gluten, or cut my carbohydrates way down and make sure I go run for miles every day. And I just got to eat less and exercise more. And nowadays, right, the eat less, exercise more mantra has taken on a lot of shades of gray, right? So now it's not just eat less, exercise more. Now it's like do high intensity interval training and cut carbs, or go on a cleanse, right? Or avoid gluten and do marathons, or do CrossFit and follow a primal-based diet. All these kinds of things, right? So there's many shades of being a dieter. That's the thing that you need to stop doing. And the reason why is this. If you are on this webinar listening to me talk right now, chances are you have tried this until the cows have come home, haven't you? Like me, working out like crazy, doing all the right things, not seeing the changes. You know, the definition of insanity, right? We all say it. It's a cliche statement, doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different outcome. That's what this is. And the statistics, by the way, in science show that this is an abysmal failure. Eating less and exercising more for the vast majority of people is an abysmal failure. 95% of people gain the weight back. 66% of people end up fatter. Not only do we see it over and over again in our friends and family, and some of us experience it in ourselves, but the research shows that as well. And here's what's confusing, by the way, about being a dieter. Being a dieter seems to work for some people, and it works for most people in the short run, right? Most people who eat less and exercise more, especially if they've been a couch potato, it's going to work in the short run. Which is why we all think, hey, we should do this, because we don't understand. Again, another tricky thing about being human is we don't always understand that short-term results that leave us worse off in the long run are not a good outcome, right? We oftentimes forget that. So what I want you to do is I want you to stop being a dieter. That's the thing, though. When I tell you to stop being a dieter, stop letting food and exercise be your only tools to help with your health and fitness, then what else is left, right? That's where you have to start looking beyond diet and exercise. And so there's also something I want you to start doing. What do I want you to start doing? I want you to start being more like a metabolic detective. This is a concept that Metabolic Effect has been talking about a long time. Our acronym is ME, or me, right? We came up with that acronym in the beginning because by that time I already knew that one size fits all solutions were not how this works. I already knew that just eating less and exercising more across the board could not only was not a solution for everybody, but for many people could actually make the situation worse. And I'm going to say this again. If you're on this webinar, you probably know that what you're doing is not working, but you're not yet convinced. You're not yet convinced that doing less of what you think you're supposed to be doing is actually the approach that you should be taking. You don't buy into this less is more idea. You don't yet understand the smarter versus harder idea. Right here, you're looking at this, not too hot, not too cold, but just right, right? Goldilocks. This is a take on Goldilocks. Ultimately, what you need to be doing is you need to, like I said, stop being the dieter and start treating your lifestyle like Goldilocks. You need to check and see, is your diet too much or too little, right? Are you going to the extreme with your diet? Or are you really, you might be one of those people who's just sitting on the couch gorging on Doritos all the time, right? But if you're not, and you're cutting carbs and cutting gluten and cutting GMOs and doing all this craziness and still not seeing results, then what's happened to you is you have not gotten it just right yet. You've tipped the scales perhaps in the other direction. So I'm talking to two people probably on the line. There are probably some of you who are in that camp where you're like, hey, Jade, I'm a beginner, right? So I don't get what you're saying. I'm not exercising at all. I'm not really, I'm overeating. So doesn't that mean I should eat less and exercise more? That's one group of you. The other group is like, Jade, I'm doing everything right. I eat less, eat carbs, eat less carbs, get my carbs right. I exercise more. I'm still not seeing results. In both camps, what you want to do is just because if you're a couch potato, right, you're eating Doritos all day long, does not mean you want to automatically get up, run out the door, and become a marathon runner and a vegetarian. What it means is you want to find balance. Right now, you're out of balance. Obviously, sitting on the couch and eating Doritos is not going to be the approach that you need, but neither is becoming a CrossFitter and a paleo person either, perhaps. What you need to do is you need to find balance. And for those of you who are the extreme metabolic conditioning people, the high intensity interval people, the people who are eating strict, you also need to realize that perhaps you too, just like the couch potato who's eating Doritos all the time, right? And I'm poking fun. Obviously, none of you are doing that. But what I'm saying is you need to find balance. So on both ends of those spectrum, you need to become the metabolic detective. You need to find what is too hot. You need to understand what is too cold. And you need to pinpoint what is just right. Now, this is a tricky situation, isn't it? Because we as humans do not like this. What you want is you want to say, hey, Jade, I know you're in the health and fitness business. I want you to tell me what I should do. Matter of fact, I want you to give me a meal plan and some recipes, the exact workouts I need to do. Please tell me when to do them, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Should I do them at night? Should I not? What supplements should I take? And all of this stuff that you think that if I just hand it to you like a recipe booklet, it's automatically going to lead to linear, predictable, incredible results for you. You need to get that out of your head now and forever. We know that that does not work. It's up to you. You need to tweak. You need to adjust. You need to understand your body. You need to see how things are working, and you need to change things. And if you are doing high intensity interval training all day, every day, and cutting your calories and carbs and all this other stuff way back and still not seeing results, guess what? You need to change. And if you're that other person who's like, Jade, I don't have the motivation to exercise, I'm eating too much, I'm not moving enough, then guess what? You need to move to the just right phase. That's what we're talking about here. So these are two very big insights that you must understand. Stop being the dieter. Start understanding that the body deals with stress the same, whether it's sitting on the couch and eating too much or whether it's pounding the pavement and eating too little. Stress is the common denominator in these factors. Too much exercise, too little exercise equals stress. Too much food, too little food equals stress. And yes, stress also equals emotional turmoil, overwork, sleep deprivation, and all the other stuff that we associate with stress. But we need to start understanding what we are talking about here, okay? We need to start understanding that stress is far more than you may have ever realized. Now, I'm going to give you a hint. I'm going to give you a hint here. How do you know when your body is under stress? Here's an interesting thing, right? I gave you two scenarios. One person who is not exercising at all and eating whatever they want, right? And the other person who's exercising like crazy and not eating everything and depriving themselves. Guess what these people have in common? They have dysfunction in hunger, energy, and cravings. Both of them tend to be hungry all the time. Both of them don't seem to feel very good, have low energy. And both those groups of people have cravings constantly. Why? Because their body is under stress. I have come to call hunger, energy, and cravings an acronym, HEC, H-E-C, hunger, energy, and cravings. If HEC is out of check, this should be your mantra, especially if you've been following Metabolic Effect for a while. You now understand how critical this is because HEC in check equals balanced, unstressed metabolism. HEC out of check equals a metabolism that is stressed out. Now, is this always true? Not always true. But 99% of the time, if your hunger, energy, and cravings are out of control, you can pretty much guarantee you have put your body into a stressful situation. Does that make sense? So that's the first thing you need to start doing. You need to say to yourself, wow, am I under stress or not? And it does not matter if you're doing Bikram yoga, and it does not matter if you're gluten-free, and it does not matter if you're staying away from all the GMOs, and it does not matter what you are doing. If your hunger, energy, and cravings are out of check, then you are under stress no matter what you are telling yourself. And you need to take my advice. Listen to it. I've been through it and I've seen it. And you need to understand your system, your body is in a stressed out situation. And that is not just contributing to, but potentially causing your weight loss resistance, okay? So what I want you to do right now is I just want you to sort of send me a little message. Tell me, hey, Jade, yes, this makes sense. This makes sense to me. I understand. I want to make sure you guys are with me, because here's the thing that oftentimes happens. We oftentimes will say, hey, tell me what to do. Give me the recipes. Tell me this, tell me that. And we forget the insights that drive this. You need to understand what to do, right? Information is not transformation. Information is not transformation. So we need to understand this. So I've told you what to stop doing, right? Stop dieting. I've told you what to start doing, right? Which is start understanding that you have to seek balance and know when you are out of balance and know where your heck is in check or not, right? And now the third thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to give you the start to this. I can't go through all of it, but I need to go through the start with you. I'm going to tell you how to get started. And here's how you get started. Remember Amber, when she went on vacation and thought, oh my God, I actually lost weight. This is so confusing. And remember me, when I cut my shift back and I stopped taking as many personal training clients and I decided to take on a few more school loans so that I wasn't killing myself while I went through medical school. In both of those cases, that was a case of giving my metabolism a vacation. And so you need to give your metabolism a vacation. Now, let me be clear, because I know there's essentially two people probably on the line. Those of you who are just getting started and who are beginners. And those of you who are going crazy, doing everything right, and aren't getting the results. Both of you need to give yourselves a vacation. The people who are sitting down, not exercising and overeating, you're going to give yourself a vacation from that. Those of you who are exercising like crazy and not eating, you're going to give yourself a vacation from that. So you're both going to move to this approach. Now notice that I'm not going to tell you people who have not yet started, who are just now entering this journey, who are not very active and who are not eating on extreme diets. I'm not going to tell you to start doing anything extreme, because the last thing I'd want to do is tell you to do something that is just going to make things worse for you in the long run. I certainly could take the tack that most people in the weight loss industry do for those types. I could say, you know what, you're not moving, you're not eating very well, do this craziness, and guess what's going to happen? You're going to lose weight for a little while. You probably will. And guess what else is going to happen? Like a metabolic credit card, short-term results, long-term pain. You will gain the weight back, okay? You will gain the weight back. So how do you give your metabolism a vacation? Here's how. There's 4 different approaches that you can take to diet. What most people do is they eat more and exercise less. I've been talking to some of you on the line, right? The other approach is to eat less and exercise more. It doesn't matter what that looks like, whether it's less gluten, less carbs, less calories, less GMO, whatever it is, and more exercise. Now, there's 2 other ways you can do this. You can eat less and exercise less, and you can eat more and exercise more. Now, notice on the eat less and exercise less and the eat more and exercise more, what is the common denominator there? Output is balanced with intake, isn't it? In other words, your body is fueling itself. It's not getting mixed messages. It's like, oh, I'm moving less. I'm not exercising like crazy. Therefore, he is feeding me less. Oh, I'm exercising more. I'm doing a lot of this crazy stuff. Therefore, he or she is feeding me more. This makes sense. I like this. Those 2, eat less and exercise less, and eat more and exercise more, are far more likely to keep your heck in check. They're far more likely. However, when you are beat down and you are fatigued and you are overwhelmed and you are foggy brained, then you're dealing with thyroid and adrenal stuff, I can tell you from experience, the last thing on earth I wanted to do when I was feeling that crappy was move into the eat more, exercise more model, because that's the model for an athlete. That takes an awful lot of motivation. You can't just go from idle speed to full blast and expect it to work out all right. It works for some, but what I have found is the real metabolic vacation comes from eating less and exercising less, or what I call ELEL, okay? So let's talk about that a little bit. It's actually very, very simple. I'm not gonna make this complicated for you guys tonight. It's pretty simple to do. ELEL follows what I call a 3-2-1 model. And by the way, I learned, finally I learned this, that simplicity is the key to this. I used to make these long, drawn out, really specific, eat this, don't eat that, have this recipe, do this, do that, all this stuff. And all it did was overwhelm people. ELEL, this very simple 3-2-1 model, is profound in its impact because it is so simple. Do not let simple fool you. The simplicity of this is partly why it's so effective. 3-2-1 nutrition. Remember, ELEL is an eat less, exercise less approach. The body has to process less food. It gets time between meals to repair itself and to relax and to rest and to digest. And there's not a lot of exercise, okay? Now, one key point that I want to tell you here is movement and exercise is a little different. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But for nutrition, the 3-2-1 essentially means, the 3 means 3 meals per day. The 2 means 2 of those meals are going to be protein-based or vegetable-based, essentially eggs and maybe low-sugar fruits, or salad and protein, or protein shakes, or non-starch crock pots or slow cooker recipes, or salads, right? And then 1 meal at the end of the day that includes starch. Think about me, what I was telling you what I was doing, and think about Amber, what she was doing. She was going all day, not really eating much, and then she was having pasta and even alcohol at night. And so was I when I was out in Los Angeles and when I was going through this year transformation of getting my health back and getting my physique back. I was saying, hey, I'm not going to fall prey to the banana effect anymore. But there's one trick here I can give you, one clinical pearl for many, many, many of us, especially me who has this sort of weird thing that when I start getting stressed out, when I'm sleeping, I almost feel like I'm not sleeping. I almost feel half conscious the whole night. Then I wake up at 4 and can't go back to sleep. And it's just this weird thing. But guess what helps with that? Starch. When I have potatoes, sweet potato, maybe, yes, oh my God, gasp, a little bit of pasta at the end of the night after not having it all day, it helps me sleep, and it helps many of my patients sleep. Is it going to help everyone? Well, that's where you find out. Not too much, not too little, but just right? You got to find out. 3-2-1 of exercise means 3 R&R workouts. And actually, I'm going to tell you what these R&R workouts are in a minute, but what I mean by these R&R workouts is I mean rest and recovery. And what I mean by 3 is I mean 3 at a minimum. You can do way more, and you should do way more. In addition, 2 intense workouts, maybe weight training, maybe metabolic conditioning, something like that, maybe a run, but no more than 2 of them. And then 1 hour of walking, and specifically leisurely walking, slow walking every single day. Now, you might say, well, Jade, that doesn't sound like an exercise less approach because you're walking all the time. Well, walking is very different than exercise, because exercise done to lose weight or perform better or get stronger raises stress hormones. Power walking even raises stress hormones. But 1 hour of leisurely walking, and you can do more actually lowers stress hormones. It's actually very, very restful for the body. Surprise, surprise, right? So very different. And so, yes, if you want to get into semantics and you want to be in particular, then we can call ELEL, EM, right? Or ELEM, eat less, exercise less, move more. Or I guess that would be ELEM, right? But you get the point there. The key to this, though, is this. What most people do is they'll hear me say this and they're going to say, all right, Jade, I got it. I'm going to go do the 3-2-1 nutrition. I'm going to do the 3-2-1 of exercise, and I'm going to see if it works. And I'm going to tell you right now, the most critical aspect of this, the aspect that Amber did not want to do, the aspect that I did not want to do, the aspect that most of my patients don't want to do are the R&R workouts. For some reason, they just don't feel like they're doing much. They feel like a waste of time to us. They don't feel like we're doing something, right? Exercise at least feels like I'm doing something, right? I go for a walk, I feel like I'm doing something. I feel at least I'm being somewhat productive. But these R&R workouts are critical, and I have found that they are perhaps the key that lights the engine, right? It ignites this whole process. What are these things? Walking, but specifically leisurely walking, meditation, naps, sleep, right? Now, I want you to check with yourself right here. Everyone who's on the line, I want you to check with yourself, because I bet you many of you right now are saying, oh, this is interesting, but I won't do any of those things. That is the problem right there. If you would make these as much a priority as you do your show at night, your favorite sitcom, or your high intensity interval training session that you must do. I know, because I was the type of person, I was like, that's who I am as a person. It's part of my value system. I had to change that. I had to change from someone who lives a rest-based lifestyle, right? So R&R workouts, rest and recovery workouts, walking, meditation, naps, sleep, massage, Tai Chi, yoga. Let me stop here with yoga. Restorative yoga only. Bikram yoga is very intense. Other types of yoga are very intense. That means that if you're going to do it on your 2 intense days. Do not do it as one of your 3 or more R&R workouts. Laughter, right? Laughter is a very big one. Spa time. What do I mean by spa time? I mean time in a sauna, right? I mean contrast hydrotherapy or hot baths, or I even mean getting a manicure or a pedicure or a massage. You see on here, and maybe some of your eyes jumped out at this because for some reason we have this very weird relationship to orgasm and sex as humans. It's kind of taboo in our culture. But orgasm is perhaps one of the most relaxing things that a human can do. So sex, masturbation, as taboo as it is in our culture, is a very relaxing. Oxytocin, which is released with orgasm, is one of the most relaxing things to your system to rebalance and reboot your metabolism. Time with pets, time with family, time with creative pursuits, herbal teas, hanging out in nature, listening to birds and things like that. And here's the trick, because I hate to bang on computer and TV, because we would like to say, hey, can't I just sit around on Facebook, and can't I just sit around watching TV? And the interesting thing about this is these R&R workouts, research shows, interestingly, that here's the deal with TV and computer. They are relaxing for a short period of time, 5 to 10 minutes, and then they become draining on the psyche. Actually, research has a word for it. They call it psychic entropy, the slow loss of our psychic potential due to TV and computer. In other words, they drain you, they stimulate you in the short run, they drain you in the long run. Sounds a lot like dieting, doesn't it? It works in the short run, it burns you out in the long run. And so it's not that we're saying TV and computer you should not do. It's just that these don't count as your R&R workouts because they can be so draining. If you are going to watch TV, right, there's one potential caveat perhaps, is laughter, right? A funny sitcom, a funny movie, that might do the trick. So 3, 2, 1 is where you want to start. This is how you give your metabolism a vacation.